shows every Sunday.
Here we go.
What up, everybody? This your boy B-Rob, and I'm back with another edition of the Random Ramblings with Rob podcast. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you, the listener, for coming back each and every week, or however you listen to podcasts. If you're a first-time listener, I'd like to thank you oh so much for giving my show a try. And if anybody recommended you to me, I would like for you to reach over and give that person a crisp high five. But if you're being socially cautious and you don't want to slap hands with your fellow human being or whatnot, you don't want to get the germs and what have you, go ahead and pick up your favorite social media app of choice and send them a well-crafted DM. I'm sorry. I'm kind of distracted right now. I got my 3D printer going on in the background. I'm looking at some other stuff in front of me. But in any case, send that DM via your favorite app to the person that recommended you to me. Tell them thank you for recommending you to me. And since you're on your phone or whatever have you, your tablet and whatnot, browsing the interwebs, you can find the Random Rambles with Rob on various social media platforms to include Twitter at 3R Show, Instagram at The 3R Show, YouTube, search for 3R Show. You can see some video interviews that I've done in the past. And for anything that I may have forgotten to mention, you can go to randomrob.com. randomrob.com, to where you can find many different ways to help support the show, to include our sponsor, Hooks Rubs and Spices. Go to hooksrub.com, to where you can get 15% off your order if you use promo code RANDOM. That's 15% off your order if you go to hooksrub.com and get you some glorious spices and rubs for all the things that you want to put into your mouth hole and beyond. I wouldn't recommend the beyond part, but get that 15% off using promo code RANDOM. Yeah, we rolling right along. Second episode of the year 2023. Not too much going on this side of town. I just did a live podcast here in Houston. When I say live, I don't mean like it was broadcasted live. I mean live and in person with actual people, not via microphone to computer to, broadcasting equipment over the interwebs to another person's setup so they can hear and see me. But like I slapped hands and stuff. I gave crisp high fives this past week. And I got with the homies over at the Big Propaganda Podcast here in Houston, Texas. And they're a variety show to talk about all types of professional wrestling and whatnot. And I have dubbed them the Wu-Tang Clan of podcasting, because there's a lot of them motherfuckers. There's a lot of them, and there's a lot of professional wrestling belts being slanged around in their vicinity and whatnot. There's so many belts, so many beautiful world titles and everything. Amongst them was my favorite, the big gold belt. I said whenever I was to get enough funds to purchase my own championship title, the first one I would buy would be the big gold belt. But I've told that story on this podcast before, that I didn't wind up going with that as my first choice, because at WrestleMania 31, it was my very first WrestleMania. It was my birthday. My wife gave me the blessing to buy a championship title. I had the big gold belt in my hand, but they just did the revamp to the current WWE world title. The black one, big W logo on it. And they just, upgraded from the scratch version to this one not too long before. And I had them both in my hands and everything. And that big gold belt looked so nice. But I was like, man, I want to get with the new. And if you ever heard me on my wrestling takes for any of the wrestling podcasts that I've been on or I do, I'm down with the new school more than the old school. I appreciate their past and the sacrifices and all the things that they did to improve and impact the wrestling industry. But I'm ready for the new generation. I'm ready for the new people to shine. The Roxanne Perez's, the Brian Keiths, the Speedball Mike Bailey's, and everything like that. Even though Mike Bailey's been wrestling like 17 years, but I've only known about him within the past 3 years because he was only allowed in the country for the past 5 years. But anyway, so, yeah, I wind up getting the big WWE logo belt. That was I went on a rant ramble there. But yeah, it was a cool time to get out of my house and podcast and just meet, fellow enjoyers of professional wrestling, passionate in certain aspects and everything. We covered a myriad of topics, but you can see the video interview on their YouTube. Search for Big Propaganda Pod. Let me double check to make sure that I got the right address for that. It's the Big Show. Yes, Big Propaganda Wrestling Podcast. You can find them on the YouTubes, baby. Search it under the same name. And you know it's them because it's a long ass title. And there's a lot of motherfuckers sitting in chairs with microphones in front of them talking about professional wrestling, which I'm amongst that. So I appreciate you if you give them a follow, like, listen, and all that stuff. Support your boy, support them. And I had to check on my 3D printer. 1 second. All right, it's still doing things. And also, we held the 18th annual Arby Awards. The first RBR of 2023. The 900th episode of RBR Weekly Wrestling Talk. And the 18th annual edition of the Arby Awards. So, I mean, fucking history, man. This is, I guess, my first whole year with this crew, all four of us together. From the last episode, not the last episode, from the last award show to this award show, a whole full year. And it's been cool. I've been enjoying doing the RBR. I like to talk about professional wrestling. It seems like I've been arguing professional wrestling or complaining about professional wrestling over this past year or whatnot, but I've been making points and defending and taking up for things as well. So it's fun to have that dynamic because you can't have everybody agreeing with everything all the time. It makes for boring content to an extent. But that's going on. Well, that had happened or whatever. We rolling right on into episode 901 of RBR Weekend Wrestling. 900 and something episodes. That's fucking crazy, man. Almost 18 years worth of content. It's crazy to think about. A show's been around that long and whatever. Now I'm a part of it. Also, motherfucking Wrestle Kingdom 17. Another historic moment in professional wrestling. So we got WWE contracted professional wrestlers wrestling on, New Japan's, lack of better terms, WrestleMania, And, I'm not saying that one is lesser than the other, but one is more recognizable than the other. Let's put it that way. But yeah, it was a fun show. Kenny Omega came back to what I consider his home or whatever. That's where I first come to know who Kenny Omega was because of his work in Japan. Not specifically, well, majority of it was New Japan Pro Wrestling, but I did see some stuff with I think he might have went to DDT and some other places, but I've known him primarily as a Japan wrestler. Japanese. He's not Japanese, he's Canadian, but he speaks fluent Japanese and he's been there for years. So would he be honorary Japanese? Like honorary Us or whatever? I don't know. Honorary Us is Canadian. Just because they're Canadian, they can be honorary anythings, I guess, right? I don't know. But Wrestle Kingdom was a good show. And then, speaking of independent wrestling, I got to call another great show for New Texas Pro, Lone Star 3. And, it was fun. I got to have a Sammy Kiss. What the fuck is this dude's name? It's Sammy Kiss. Cause it's the S and the K, it's just Sammy Kiss, Sonny Kiss, same shit. And then, we had a 3-man booth. The other guy's name escapes me right now. I got him on my Instagram though, cause that's first thing I got to do whenever I meet some new people in the field or whatever. Is just like, hey, what's your Twitter? Hey, what's your Instagram? So I got to look him up and I want to give him his shout out. But yeah, we had the 3-man booth and it was a fun old time. And Lord Jesus, just fun. And speaking of New Texas Pro, their current heavyweight champion, Brian Keith, the bounty hunter, Brian Keith, he competed in his first Battle of Los Angeles for PWG. And I'm excited about that because this is a big event that nobody knows about. Leo Rush was supposed to be in it, but he got injured at Wrestle Kingdom 17. And Brian King, what the fuck am I doing today? Brian King, Wrestle Kingdom. You see what I'm doing? I'm mixing up my words and shit, man. It's just like my brain is scattered right now. But Brian Keith got the call. He was the alternate to replace Leo Rush. And from what I understand, because fucking PWG and all that stuff is so goddamn mysterious, they don't want to be like everybody else and publicly stream their shit. They want to do it on tape, VHS, or however the fuck they distribute this stuff. But from what I found from the internet, he won the first round of his bouts and everything. So that's a big fucking deal, man. This dude is on the rise. He's holding 4 championships for 4 different companies right now. And I'm just excited to see it. My wrestler of the year for 2021 is this guy, you know? And I'm just, wonder what 2023 holds for this man. He got his passport. There might be some, you know, shows in Japan in this guy's future. And I know that's something that he's real big into because that's some of his influences in professional wrestling. A lot of Japanese wrestlers. So love to see it. And my 2023 wrestler of the year, Speedball Mike Bailey, who is on the rise. And, you know, I told you that he's been wrestling for over 17 years, but I've only known about him for 3 because he was barred from the country for 5. But dude is phenomenal. Just had a great match with the Impact World Champion, Josh Alexander, who's another phenomenal talent. They almost pulled off a 60-minute match, but it was hard hitting throughout and whatnot. And it's got great praise and acclaim and whatnot. And it could have been match of the year for 2022, but it happened in 2023. Or did it? Did it? I don't know. Let me fact check. Yeah, it happened in December. So yeah, it could have been match of the year contender or whatever. If it wouldn't, it kind of snuck under the radar or whatever, because nobody's watching Impact, and they should be. I know they got a lot of old motherfuckers on there, and I've just stated my case about how I feel with the old school in some aspects, but they have a lot of shining stars there. Ace Austin, Mike Bailey, freaking Josh Alexander, Trey Miguel, freaking Chris Bay. You know, that's 5 people right off the top that's like worth giving it a watch. I mean, they had Jake something and a couple other people there, which I don't think Jake something is still there, but he had a phenomenal match with freaking Trey Miguel, and it was just like, wow. Good match. But yeah, I mean, that's about it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but a lot of nothing at the same time and everything. My son has come home to live with us again. We're trying to get him back on track with a couple things or whatever. He was out there in the world doing adult shit and having a couple of issues or whatnot. So we pulled him back into the crib, and we're gonna get him back on track. So B-Rob JR is in the building, and a young child is kind of excited, but at the same time, you can already see the annoyance on her face because they click tight. I think all 3 of my kids or whatever, these 2 are the tightest or whatever, but it's just like, you know, that thing with siblings or whatever. She's been, you know, here on her own this whole time, just kind of having the run of things or whatnot. And now her big brother back to annoy her and get on her nerves and shit, just as siblings do. But she's excited. The dog is excited. Now I ain't got to worry about that punk motherfucker. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be talking about the dog like that. Anyway, I'm done with my ramblings. Got some other things got to take care of. Got some RBR prep to do. And yeah, check us out live Wednesday nights on twitch.tv/RBR Wrestling, relatively after AEW Dynamite on Wednesday nights. So give us a listen, give us a follow, give us a like and all that stuff. We got some extra bonus content on Patreon, patreon.com/RBR Wrestling. And yeah, but that's all I got. And I'll see you next time.